Hello, it's me again, Scott Baker, your friendly neighborhood precinct chair on the Montgomery County Republican Party. This video is a follow-up to my previous videos, which you're welcome to view if you get a chance. I think it would help inform a lot about what's going on. But I wanted to do a follow-up to the steering committee meeting that happened on March 12th. And some other things that have come to light since then in my doing research to make this video. So the Montgomery County Republican witch hunt, that's what I'm calling this. It seems appropriate. Some people disagree, but it really does seem appropriate. At the March CEC meeting, Precinct Chair Scott Robbins, Precinct Chair 33, Scott Robbins, gave a speech in which he lamented that I had made a video about the censure resolution, which he disapproves of. He disapproves of my video, not the censure motion. He demanded that I take down the video and apologize. I did not, and I will not. He then moved to create a committee to investigate my character. You're welcome to go back and watch that video and see what he said. He tried to enumerate several problems with my video, but in doing so, he actually validated my video. And I still stand by my video, and I'm not taking it down. County Chair Gwen Withrow indicated at the steering committee would take up and discuss the motion to investigate my character. And that happened last week, March 12th in 2025, last Wednesday. And I attended that meeting. And this video is going to explain some of what I saw at that meeting. It was actually a little bit surprising. For one thing, it should be noted that Mr. Robbins' motion to create the committee was actually in order and should have been done at the CEC meeting and was not necessary to take into to the steering committee meeting. And I'm not sure why they felt the need to do that, but let's continue. So what happened at the meeting? I looked at the agenda and there was a member disciplinary concerns section of the agenda. So I assumed that they would be talking about me in the video because they seem to think that it's a disciplinary issue. It was the way it was presented, it's the way it's been discussed. But to my surprise, it wasn't. What it was instead about was about the removal of precinct chairs. This is considered a disciplinary issue. And the reason, the rationale given, I'm going to play a little bit of video here. We got some clips. And just to be clear, the video clips, you'll see cuts. I left the cuts in intentionally so you can tell where they are. I did trim the video down to just what I thought were the relevant parts. I'm happy to share the entire video if anybody wants to see it. Feel free to reach out. But I felt like this was the relevant parts. And in this section of the video, they're talking about removing precinct chairs for not attending enough meetings.
We're down to member disciplinary concern.
Okay. We sent 4 this meeting, 4 consecutive meeting messages. I make a loss.
So rules are rules. Did you accept the election?
Yes, he did. And that's a city election, so it's not.
I understand that, but
Right there, John Wirtz makes a good point that the gentleman in question is actually still serving as an election chair. And they're still planning on proceeding with removing him.
Okay. Do I have any motions, or what is the desire of the steering committee?
I like the motion.
Could you please clarify what rule you'd be removing them under?
This is me.
What?
What party rule you're using for abandonment of office? Election code. Election code.
I can look it up for you later.
Pretty sure.
It's in R50.
This isn't the first time. I'm just asking for clarification on you. To restate those situations, they are not just removed. They are warned, they are told, they get a chance to respond. We let people go for an extra meeting or so. If they call in, try to make an effort, but when they don't make any effort at all, they're not doing their job and they don't want to. So, it's done. It's in here.
Yes.
Okay, Texas Election Code, I'll get to the top here, is section 171.029, removal of precinct chair or county chair for abandonment of office.
And the ones that are now at this point need to be consistently treated like the ones that were in the past.
Are you declaring your chairs vacant?
Yes.
Okay, that is your option.
So did I just do it for 4 people? 3 people, okay. Yeah. Okay.
According to our bylaws, it says absence from this is 3.06. Absence from 4 consecutive regularly scheduled CEC meetings is ground for removal. Any such action requires 2/3 approval of members present voting, not counting vacancies, with at least 50% of membership voting, and that's the CEC, not the HSN. It would have to do that. So all of these should go before the CEC, according to our bylaw.
There's a precedence relevant to consider the letter, said if they don't respond, which I think is in keeping with TEC rules, if they don't respond, we can declare them vacant.
We being the steering committee?
We being the party, the chairman, can declare them vacant and has abandoned office, abandoned their chair.
Okay, but we have a bylaw that specifies how we're supposed to do that.
Good call. But
In general-
TEC does supersede, right?
Just know it's in the bylaws.
There is a precedence that's set forth in the RPT rules in the very first few pages that defines what those precedences are and what trumps what.
Remember, we're still, did we have another disciplinary concern?
Do we?
We did not.
All right. At that point, I actually thought it was over and they weren't going to do anything, but I was wrong about that, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I want you to think about what they're saying here. Election Code Section 171.029 says that a precinct or county chair who has failed to perform statutory duties provided by this code, or failed to attend 4 or more consecutive meetings of the county executive committee may be removed for abandonment of office. Not required. The TEC does not say you must do it, and you must. They say if you're going to do it with this, you have to follow these procedures. But they say they may be removed, not they must be removed. And this is important, right? What does the state party say, right? The state party, 8N, elected party officials' misconduct in office says you may be removed for failing to attend 2 consecutive statutory executive committee meetings. In fact, they say nothing about regular meetings, right? In what is a disciplinary action, the state party rules, which trump our bylaws, right? Okay, and in 8R here, right here, every county chair in a county with a population over 20,000, that's Montgomery County, shall call a county executive meeting at least every quarter. So the state, for smaller counties, they say at least twice a year. So the state says we need 4 meetings a year. That's it. The 4 meetings a year. The CEC, and actually the steering committee, has scheduled 12 meetings a year minimum. They have done monthly meetings. Now, there's nothing in the bylaws that say we have to have 12 monthly meetings, and there are additional special meetings as well. So we have at least 12 meetings, and the steering committee has a meeting for each of those months as well. So that's 24 meetings. That's a whole lot of meetings. And what they're saying is that precinct chairs must attend all of the meetings. If you miss 4 in a row, we're going to kick you out. The state says we only need 4 the whole year. And if none of them are statutory, right? Here are meeting calls. Even the CEC bylaws in section 402 says regular and statutory meetings shall be called. Our monthly meetings are not statutory meetings. Why are we kicking people out just because they're not attending meetings? That's not their job. It's not. The gentleman in the video says that's their job, but it's not. Statutory requirements, that means what we have to do by law, include holding the primary. There's no primary this year, so there's no statutory meeting for the primary this year. Okay, the only other statutory thing we do in our regular meetings is filling vacancies. So we're creating vacancies to fill vacancies. Why does that make any sense? Unless you're trying to replace people you don't like with people you do. That's an interesting occurrence. Turns out there's another twist to this. The requirement is that the notification of this must be sent by certified mail. Received a letter the other day, an email, that DJ Fike, the secretary, apologized because she failed to send these 4 letters certified, which is required in order for them to be valid. She sent some letters, somehow 4 letters to the wrong address, certified, and then when she figured out they were the wrong address, she sent the follow-up letters, not certified, to the 4 individuals. Just doesn't sit right with me. Something's going on here. But let's get on to the other part of the meeting. The discipline. This was under other business, and I'm going to call it the witch hunt. And honestly, it feels like just deleting or declaring precinct chair seats vacant in a steering committee in a back room where nobody's watching until now. Just seems like that may be part of the witch hunt too. So there was a motion, and I'm going to play this video again. I trimmed these down to keep them short, and I apologize for the length of them, but there was a motion made, finally, in other business for a fact-finding committee, which is not what was asked for at the CEC meeting. So let's listen to what happened.
So there's a lot of information floating out there on the internet and sort of what happens.
Must be true.
So, I really think we need a fact finding committee to really dive into this, look at it, and come out with an official argument, idea of what comes out of it, and I would propose a Jack agreement. I would do that as a motion. The purpose is to look at all of the information that's been out there, sift through it, and come up with the official party response.
Regarding the video.
However you transpire from here.
Okay, so a second. So we're in discussion. Those discussing having a fact-finding committee to come up with a party response for items that have been posted on the internet. There's 7, at least,
Up to 7.
Up to 7 members, with Jackie as the chairman. Anybody wanting to discuss this item?
Well, this is in accordance with Scott Robbins' request before the committee, correct?
That's part of it.
So, well, you didn't mention that, so thank you for bringing that out.
That would be given Article 13, Section 75.
So this is to answer Scott.
Part of
I have a question.
Okay, Justin and Scott Baker, did you have a question?
I was wondering what the goal of the committee is. Is it just to report back to the CEC?
yeah, with some recommendations, sure.
They were supposed to give lessons learned,
Recommendations.
recommendation.
Party response.
And the party response.
And it would include Scott Robbins' request that we review your videos.
He also requested some other things regarding me as well.
Okay, I could hear that.
Mr. Robbins also requested that the role of that committee would be to investigate my character, I believe, was the language he used. Is that to be in this?
To investigate if there would be any discipline action.
Okay. There's a process for that in the RPT rules. Is that part of this committee?
So with ADEN,
Yes.
So, that would be included in this committee. Are the steering committee members ready to vote?
Yes.
All those in favor of this recommendation, please answer with aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we have accepted your recommendation.
Okay, there you have it. Apologize for the length of this again, but there's a lot going on here, and we really need to talk about it. A fact-finding committee. This is an ad hoc committee is what it would be called, because there's not an existing committee for this. There actually is a process. The Rule 8N that's shown up here in the top left corner, elected party officials' misconduct in office. If somebody thinks that I have done something wrong, if they think that I have violated the party rules, county or state or the law, then they would follow Rule 8N in that process, and in order to basically prosecute me. It does not appear that anybody thinks that, which is interesting. So they're referring to Robert's Rules of Order. And in fact, I believe that John Boucher, the vice chair of the party, is the one who made the reference to Robert's Rules of Order. I actually think he made the reference to the wrong part of Robert's Rules of Order. But here just a note, this is some of his Facebook posts he's been communicating with people. He says, we do have bylaws, but ours defer to Robert's Rules of Order in areas where our bylaws are silent. Reprimanding disruptive members who are those who caused embarrassment to the organization is covered in Robert's Rules of Order. So that's one of his justifications here. And he sent this, or he posted this on Facebook about the steering committee has this on their agenda and we'll be reviewing Mr. Baker's video. They did not review my video, but I think they've all seen it. And referring it to a committee to determine if any action should be taken. They muddled through that quite a bit to get to a motion where it included my video at all. He said, if I were to prepare a video outlining and detailing Mr. Baker's false statements, you and others would just claim I was unilaterally going after Mr. Baker. I don't think he's unilaterally going after me. I think he's doing so with the steering committee and members of the CEC. He's definitely trying to go after me. He's just said so. So because I've embarrassed the organization, which is ridiculous. Here we go. This is what he has to say here too. One of the precinct chairs has now made 2 videos regarding the censure of our House reps. Both videos contain false and misleading information, as does his testimony for the body regarding his first video. Issue is taken up by the party to see if any disciplinary action will be taken. So clearly he wants some disciplinary action taken, and he thinks there's cause for it. He says that I have made false and misleading statements or provided that information in my videos. I responded, I made the videos. They are my videos, and I would like someone to please specify what they believe is false or misleading in the videos. And in fact, Dale Inman, who is also on the CEC and is also our SREC rep and involved in this whole thing, this whole censure motion as well, says, I believe there's a Rule 8N that speaks to these type of issues. It's interesting that they're going after Robert's Rules of Order. So it feels like they're rule shopping. Kind of like the judges do in the witch hunt, right? Where they go shopping for a venue. The Department of Justice, remember under Joe Biden, sought venues or courts or judges that were friendly to them so that they could try to go after Donald Trump. So I feel kind of like I'm in pretty good company here, because I must be hitting some kind of nerve if I deserve all of this attention from the party for making a couple of videos, which are covered completely under the First Amendment of the United States, the right to free speech. And I stand by everything I say in my videos. I research them well, I hope you can see that, and I point out the facts. And I actually, when I have an opinion, I usually state that it's my opinion. That's the reality. No one has actually invalidated or proved false or even misleading, misinformation, anything in my videos. I believe that Mr. Boucher was actually trying to I think he referred to the wrong section of Robert's Rules. I think he's actually referring to a section of Robert's Rules, Chapter 17, Section 61, disciplinary procedures and discipline of members or guests. For the removal of members, this is what they would like to do. They would like to remove me. I'm certain of it. they're going to look for a reason. So it feels a little bit like the, when the communists said, "Show me the man, I'll show you the crime." And here's what Robert's Rules of Order says is the justification, right? It says, offenses outside a meeting or serious misconduct, actions like theft, moral turpitude, or violating the organization's rules outside meetings that justify full expulsion from membership. So they have to meet that test. I don't think they can, but I'm sure they're going to try. Interestingly enough, this committee, which I said was a special or ad hoc committee, right? The rules regarding that state specifically in the CEC bylaws that the steering committee may establish such special or ad hoc committees as it deems necessary to assist in carrying out such duties not specifically assigned to a standing committee. That's going to be very important in a couple of minutes here, and I'll show you why. But for now, remember, this is subject to confirmation by the CEC. So they created this committee in the steering committee, which they can, but they have to get it approved by the CEC, which they have not. And on March 14th, 2 days after the steering committee meeting, we have not had a CEC meeting. Here's a memo from DJ Fike, the secretary, to all precinct chairs, received an email. The second request from the meeting was for Precinct Chair Scott Robbins, it concerned establishment of a committee to investigate the video published by Precinct Chair Scott Baker. Last night at the steering committee, a committee chairman was named, Precinct Chair Jackie Williams. There was a unanimous vote to name Miss Williams. That's wonderful, but there's not actually a committee yet. It has to go through the process. We have to follow the rules. In fact, that's what our chairman, Gwen Withrow, ran on. She repeated again and again that the previous administration, she alleged, had not been following the rules, and that she was going to follow the rules. I've already shown repeatedly in my last 2 videos that they are not following the rules, and I'm about to show you even more. The censure fiasco continues. So let's talk about this for a second. Who is the steering committee, right? The steering committee is not in the TEC. The Texas Election Code does not have any provision for a steering committee at a county executive committee structure. The RPT rules also do not have anything regarding steering committees in a county executive committee structure. The steering committee, as it exists right now, is purely a creation of the Montgomery County CEC. That's it. They made it up. In fact, they made it up 6 years ago in order to take power away from Dr. Wally Wilkerson. There were a lot of other excuses, but that was really what it came down to. It has perpetuated, and it has gone for the last 6 years, and it seems to be usurping a lot of authority unto itself, including at that meeting where they just declared that several CEC members are no longer doing their duty because they just didn't attend some meetings, which seems like a really insufficient grounds, actually. And they've also created this committee to come after me. It seems like they haven't bothered to get approval for it from the CEC. They're just proceeding as if it already existed. Well, guess what? The ad hoc committee that they claimed they made. Remember, Gwen Withrow released a press release February 25th. Said, in response to the actions taken by Montgomery County, Texas House Representatives Will Metcalf and Cecil Bell Jr., Montgomery County Republican Party Chairman Gwen Withrow formed an ad hoc censure resolution committee with Precinct Chair 27 Dale Inman as chairman to determine if their actions met the criteria for such action. That was February 25th. Okay. On February 4th, I have asked Dale Inman as our SREC committeeman to chair a committee to start the process of writing a censure resolution. She has asked. So she created the committee on February 4th. According to her, there is no record of a motion to create the ad hoc censure committee. It is not in the steering committee meeting notes. In fact, going back to January 15th, in the steering committee meeting minutes, published on the website for the Montgomery County Republican Party, Chairman states unequivocally, party is going forward with censure of Representative Metcalf and Bell. point of information, what are the ramifications of censure at the state level? Answer, state will remove them from the ballot as a Republican. So that was the goal, that was the purpose of creating this committee, but there's nothing to say that she actually created the committee. There's no motion. Nothing. Nothing in these minutes. The February 12th meeting. No motion. The only note about the censure is a status report. The RPT is issuing a guidance document on how to write the censure resolution that, if followed, will indemnify Chairman Withrow from possible lawsuit. The RPT will cover legal fees if necessary. That's it. That's what they have to say. So, all right. So we have a committee, an ad hoc committee, that was supposedly created by the steering committee, appears to have only been created by the county chair by herself. Obviously with approval of the steering committee, because they discussed it and there was no dissent. There was no discussion to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this. There's not even a discussion of the committee. There's nothing in the minutes. And if they had created the committee, here we have a letter, right? On March 1st, DJ, please send Dale's letter to the precinct chairs with the attached message. This is from DJ Fike, the secretary. This is what Gwen says. The committee I appointed at the last CEC meeting. She did not appoint it, and I'll show you that in the minutes here in a minute. There's nothing in the meeting minutes. The committee I appointed at the last CEC meeting has decided to bring forward the attached letter at this time instead of censure resolutions for our next CEC meeting. She did not create a committee according to any of the meeting minutes. Here's January CEC meeting minutes. No committee was brought forward or approved. None. You're welcome to go through these documents yourself. The February minutes. No committee brought forth. No ad hoc committee for a censure resolution brought forth for approval. Here's the March CEC minutes. Again, this was where the censure was brought forward. Presented, instead of a Rule 44, they did a bait and switch and changed it into 11.03, and now they're claiming that it was actually just a general countywide censure. So we've got lots of problems here. Basically, the rules weren't followed at all. There's no record of the motion to create the ad hoc censure committee. There's no record that it was ever approved by the CEC, bylaw 7.20, right? 7.20 says that it must be approved. I just showed you that a little while ago. No record of any meetings announced or in the calendar, bylaw 7.22, right? If there was a meeting for this censure committee, the bylaws explicitly state notice for all committee meetings shall be published on the MCRP website at least 3 days before the scheduled meeting. Here's the January calendar. No committee meetings for the ad hoc censure committee that was supposedly created. Here's the February calendar. You can check online. There are no committee meetings for an ad hoc censure meeting, or a censure committee. Here's the March calendar. Still no committee meetings for an ad hoc censure committee. At this point, I don't even know if there was actually ever a real ad hoc committee created. That's what we've been told, but that's not what any of the documents or records show. And to make it worse, I want you to think about the language here. The steering committee may establish such special or ad hoc committees as it deems necessary, not specifically assigned to a standing committee. So if this was a general censure, a resolution of censure, right? That was the language of what this is. Why didn't it go through our resolutions committee? Our resolutions committee, CEC bylaw 7.03, the resolutions committee, reviews and prepares a report for the CEC of resolutions submitted to the committee by members and non-members or referred to the committee by the CEC or steering committee. A resolution of censure is by default a resolution. We have a committee for that, which means we should have had to have an ad hoc committee. We didn't need a separate special committee, which would have made that commission out of order to begin with. And to be considered at CEC meeting, in order to present it at the CEC meeting, resolutions must be emailed to the Resolutions Committee Chair for review at least 7 days prior to a CEC meeting. That means the meeting that was presented at the CEC meeting would have had to be sent to them 7 days prior, which it was not. This was not presented as under the Resolutions Committee report. Here's what it further says in the bylaws, our bylaws. If a resolution has not been reviewed and reported on by the Resolutions Committee, it may be adopted by the CEC by the vote of at least 75% of the members present and voting. As I said in my last video, they did not even get to the 2/3 required by 11.03, which is also in our bylaws, which is what they presented it under. But now they're trying to roll back that and say that they didn't actually mean it as an 11.03. They meant it as just a general countywide resolution of censure. It did not go through the Resolutions Committee. It went through an unapproved ad hoc committee, supposedly, but there's no record of that ad hoc committee ever having met or even have been established in any of the meeting minutes. That means they broke just about every rule involving this whole process. Not only are they not following the rules, I can't actually tell which rules they are following in general. It's absolutely unacceptable. This whole thing is a fiasco. It's an embarrassment for the party. For them to be censuring me or coming after me in some weird witch hunt is just ridiculous, especially given the process that they've used for this. Even further, since they've basically usurped the power of the CEC and taken it into themselves to cast out CEC members, to investigate me, to create committees without approval in violation of our own bylaws, who is the steering committee? The steering committee is right here. Right? These people, the county chair, the vice chair, or should we call him the co-chair, John Boucher, the secretary, DJ Fike, the treasurer, Charles Shirley, Kenneth Ernest, Sherry Tavel, Robert Walker, Herschel Williams, and Jackie Williams. The vice chairman, the secretary, and the treasurer are party officers. Party officers. They are not voting members of the CEC. But in the steering committee, they get to vote on things. In fact, this is from 8P. RPT Rule 8P says the voting members of the County Executive Committee, the CEC, are the county chairman and the precinct chairs. No officers listed. The voting members of the County Executive Committee are and should be the county chairman and the precinct chair. Those are the people elected by the Republican voters. The vice chair is not elected by the Republican voters. The secretary and the treasurer are also not elected by the Republican voters in Montgomery County. They are officers elected by the body of the CEC. They should not be voting members, and yet they are voting on these, and they are making decisions on our behalf. They have usurped the power and authority of the CEC. Regarding who they are, Mr. Boucher happens to be running for the Texas House District 16, who is currently occupied by Representative Will Metcalf. Do you think he might have some interest in making sure that we get a censure under Rule 44? It really questions what he's doing here in making these decisions for the CEC. And if you go back even further, if you look here in his bio, he served on the Rules Committee at the 2024 State Convention. Do you know where Rule 44 was written? At the 2024 Texas RPT Convention. So here's my conclusion. The steering committee appears to have usurped a substantial part of the power of the CEC. They seem to be steadily replacing CEC members so that they can get their numbers up, so that they can pass these motions of censure. Why else would they be doing that? Our meetings simply aren't that important that everyone must attend every monthly meeting all the time. It sure seems like there's an agenda here. Even if there's not, we would want to be above board and make sure that there is no appearance. And yet there is. My belief is that the steering committee should be abolished. All authority needs to be returned to the CEC where it belongs. We simply don't need a deep state conducting witch hunts in the Montgomery County Republican Party. And that's certainly what it seems like we have here. The March 4th motion to censure, which started life out of order in the steering committee, then became an out of order CEC 11.03 motion to censure at the CEC meeting on March 4th, and is now claimed to be a general countywide CEC censure, was out of order in almost every conceivable way. Almost everything about this is a violation of our bylaws, is a violation of the rules, and it did not pass. It needed a 2/3 as 11.03. It needed 75% or 3/4 of the voting members if it was just a general party rule, because it should have been presented under the Resolutions Committee. The facts are on my side. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. I'm sorry for the length of these. I'm sorry they're taking so long. I really hope you've gained some information and insight here. I'm happy to discuss these. I'm happy to present these in front of the CEC, in front of any committee they want to make up or invent. And I certainly want to make sure that the public is aware of what's going on in the Montgomery County Republican Party. There are some serious problems here, and they need to be dealt with. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless Texas.